A bit like favourite children, you don't really. The boys hung in there, and right now it's my favourite. But when the dust settles, every win's variable.
Does it still mean a lot though beating Geelong?
There's a part of me that says it's 4 points, every game's the same, but obviously Easter Monday is a big day for our club, and we've had some great rivalries with them over the journey, and right now it feels a little bit sweeter, but we're going to continue to have big battles against them. They're going to be a good side for a long time, as they've proven.
The result's kind of one thing, but what pleased you most about the turnaround from last week to what you saw today?
There's some. We know we're on a journey. Last week, very disappointed with lots of parts of the game, and this week to play much more consistently. I think the way we ran out the game was pleasing. I think it was the first time Jai Newcomb's crossed the 30 possession barrier mark, so little wins for young players. There was a great contest with Denver and Jeremy Cameron in the goal square, and when you see those little opportunities for our youth to make good moments, I think a guy like Tom Mitchell really stood up today and led really well. James Sicily the same. We've given those guys more leadership opportunities, and they've been able to stand up and play consistently good football for us now. So there were some pleasing aspects to the game, of course.
Did you do anything to release Tom Mitchell, like in that second half? Because Mark O'Connor was wearing him pretty closely. Was it a matter of them releasing the tag? Was it something you did to...
Yeah, we worked with Tom. He said to me at half time that they had dropped the tag, so we looked to change his role. He's playing quite a selfless role. He's spending a fair bit of time forward and doing a couple of different things. Obviously, when we lost Big Ned, the stoppages and between the arc stuff became a bit of an issue. They had some ruck dominance, and we looked to try and change different aspects of the game. We used Tom as part of that. And then we had to try and pull a few different levers to get the game played in a manner that helped us, because they certainly had the run of the middle two quarters.
How hard was it to make that adjustment when Ned went down?
We're quite well planned, so we had some contingencies. Unfortunately, Max Lynch had to. He was unavailable, through a whole range of things over the last few weeks. So we knew that if we lost a ruck, we wouldn't have one available. So we were ready. Really pleasing. Jacob Kaczynski comes in, plays his first game. He would love to have played as a key forward for 80% of the game and just had to help out a little bit in the ruck. And Connor Nash, he had his opportunity to play as an inside mid today, and he's forced back into the ruck again. And despite not having big days on the stat sheet, really important the way they played. Geelong are quite complex to play against. They have a lot of moving parts. They've been playing together for such a long time that those guys I'm sure their brains will be sore now trying to work out what they were meant to be doing at different stages. But I was really pleased with their ability to hang in all the way to the end of the game.
Is Max Lynch now ready to go for next week? You mentioned the hiccups he's had, but he looks like he's your only option.
Ned looks like he popped his shoulder. They can settle quite quickly, so we wouldn't rule him out at this point, but we'll wait for the scans and all those types of things. He's had a wretched run, poor old Maxi. So he had his concussion, and then he was a COVID case and all that type of stuff, and then yesterday he got stung by a bee and had an anaphylactic situation, so he was actually unavailable again even today. So he's up and he's been here and he's with us, and he'll certainly come into consideration, but he hasn't played footy for a month now, so we're not against doing something unorthodox in the ruck if that's what it comes to.
How close were you to picking him though? Like, obviously he's had a shocking run. Was he just not match fit? Because he was obviously an emergency, so he wasn't too far off the mark.
No, he was an emergency once Chad was unavailable, so we brought him into the emergencies just in case, really, about Ned, because if Ned had have got sick or then something, then we didn't want to, we thought that it was an outside chance that we would have to play him, but no, he wasn't closely considered, just with his lack of preparation, really.
What does it say about the group that you were headed a couple of times and 2 goals down at three-quarter time and still able to get up?
Yeah, well, I think there's a level of belief that comes from playing against a good side and being in those situations. I think it was a challenge, though, for us to make progress, because last week, we probably lacked a couple of key moments where we just weren't able to get any ascendancy in the game at all against the Saints. And this week, there was different aspects of the game today where we saw that again, and it was quite concerning that we weren't able to arrest momentum as quickly as we'd like. But the thing that happened today was that the players recognised it, understood it, even post-game, we just had a chat about what were the things that happened in the game that as coaches or fans we wouldn't have seen. And there was a few key moments that they talked about where someone had, there was an example where Frosty had a moment where he'd conceded a goal, and James Sicily goes to him and says, hey, back on the horse, here we go, another contest. Back. And we didn't probably see as much of that last week. So I think the players' ability to lead themselves mid-quarter was really pleasing today and was a step in the right direction. But we're far from a finished product because we couldn't do it last week, and not a lot has changed in that time.
The 50-metre penalty in the third quarter is an obvious talking point. I think it was against Tom Mitchell and Jack Gunston for raising one arm towards the umpire. I'm sure you were probably raising both arms at the replay screen. Where does it sit with you where we are on this rule? We've got players admitting that they're confused about what's allowed and what's not. Are we clear enough?
Yeah, I'm just not going to get ever involved in any umpire or rule discussions at this point. I've only 5 games into my coaching. I'll wait till I've been around a little bit longer before I start getting involved. Now, I didn't know it was a talking point, to be fair. I actually wasn't sure which one you were talking about, so that makes it a bit easier for me, actually.
Free kick against Tom Hawkins guy. What's your instructions to the players, though, around that rule?
No, there aren't any. The players watch a lot of football, so I don't talk to them about. The one thing I know about umpires is they make way less mistakes than we do, so I'll worry about the mistakes that our players are making. But we didn't mention umpires at all for the game in the coach's box, so I'll leave it there.
Sam, you've had heaps to do with John Newcombe in the past 12 months. Did you see a performance like today? Like, there's so much fascination in him given where he was taken in the draft. He's been building really nicely, but he was Joe Gray-Mira-esque today.
Yeah, I mean, really pleased. I mean, when you play, I don't know how many games he's played, 12 or 12 or 14, yeah. So when you play those games, you quite often have little spike games where you get a personal best type performance, and I think we've seen some of that from different players through this year. I think Ned Reeves probably had one last week. I think Denver a couple of weeks ago had one of those games where it's like, I can start to see what his finished product might look like. And I think today was Jai's, where we've seen different aspects of his game where he's had really key moments. And I think his ability to run out a game, he's actually been able to really stand up in key moments. And today was where he probably put it all together. But we've seen bits and pieces of that across his journey so far.
Sicily's obviously a great addition to the team this year. What difference has he made for you, being able to stabilise that back line?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a strong start to the season. I think the thing with Sis is, as a coach, I like having him out there because I can always discuss the game with him. He doesn't just look at what his job is. He's got a really strong football mind. He sees the game on the bigger picture, and he's got that understanding of what may need to happen to put the odds in our favour as far as the way the game's being played. And he's really maturing as an individual, as a leader, and as a teammate. And so the ability to be able to talk to him on the bench and call on him to lead different aspects of the game has been pleasing. His performance is strong, of course, but it's the other aspects that have really grown a lot in the last 10 weeks.
Can you say one more, guys?
Can you take us inside James Hawkins this week? Because big statement to drop him out of the 22, and he comes in pretty early in the game at quarter time and has an impact. How did he cope with being dropped really for the first time since he's become an elite player?
Yeah, it was a quite an open discussion. I'm quite open with the players around. They asked for a lot of transparency around selection, and certainly have given them that. I was really clear with him that it's not our view that he is a VFL standard player. We think he's an AFL standard player who's not currently playing at AFL standard. So today, what was really pleasing, I haven't gone through statistics and all those sorts of things, but he was the third highest pressure point player in the game. And part of it is what you see on TV with kicks and marks and handballs, but part of it is the ability to put pressure on the opposition. And it was a really important part of the game today, particularly once it started to get a little bit more slippery. So he got his opportunity, and he'll continue to work to play his craft. I still don't think he's playing his best football right now, and it's my role and our coach's role